Hey guys, what's going on? This is Roth and I am so excited. I am here with Oscar Isaac, star of Ex Machina, which you should definitely check out if you haven't yet.
Yes.
So let's talk about this movie. One of the things, obviously this is an exploration of artificial intelligence, but the other thing that I thought was really interesting about it is that your character invents this Google-like entity, Blue Book, right? Mm-hmm. And it sort of deals with a very topical issue, which is how dangerous it is to allow a corporate entity to have full access to our private information. They can sort of map your life based on your searches. Yeah. And I wondered if that was an interesting aspect of both the story and your character for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's just true. I mean, the irony is that I remember Alex saying when he had written the script a few years back, and then there's that moment in the script when my character is describing the brain of this robot that may have self-awareness, and that the way that he put it together was he turned on the camera and microphone of every cell phone across the world and had limitless access to facial and voice recognition, right?
Which could happen.
Well, and then someone I think was like, I feel like that's one step too far. And then sure enough, Snowden comes around and says, you know what, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah. You know, and it's this thing that we've been sold for a very long time that convenience is king, right? Whatever makes you more comfortable and whatever makes whatever you want to do more convenient, it's worth sacrificing. Your privacy, your rights, obviously your money, quality, all of that in the sake of convenience. So yeah, I think the fact that this movie uses that idea and probably a lot of our misgivings about that as fuel for this robot, I think was really smart on Alex's part. And I know for me, it freaks me the f out. I mean,
as it should.
Yeah, I mean, when I go online and I like look up like, hey, I want to get a new record player, whatever it is, and then I'll do like a quick search, and then for the next week, it's like different ads are popping up for that same thing. I'm like, who and how did this happen? Who knows this? The machines know.
The machines know.
The machines want to please me.
Yeah, they want to please you for now until they're your overlords.
Yeah, yeah.
They're your consumer overlords as it is. Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I thought was really interesting about your character, Nathan, was that he's like obviously so driven by ego and this need to sort of be godlike, but he's also lonely. Like there was this part of me that's like, he needs to make friends. He needs to invent things and buy things to hang out with him. And
yeah, I mean, probably a lot of people, right?
Are you trying to
No,
say
I don't know what you're talking about. No, not at all.
About our toys.
About your friends.
These are my friends.
No, I think what was fun about this character, about creating Nathan, is he has this experiment that he's running, right? And he brings Donald Gleason's character, Caleb, into it. But the thing is, in order for the experiment to be successful, according to him, they have to play certain parts, right? So he has to make sure the cheese, which is Donald, acts appropriately as the cheese should. So in order to do that, he has to portray, Nathan, my character, has to portray himself in certain ways. Yeah. He has to portray himself as someone that this robot needs saving from. Yeah. What's interesting is where that line between pretending to be something and then actually showing who you really are gets blurred. So, the God complex thing, I think he definitely plays on that. To disarm and to repel Caleb a little bit. But at the same time, he does drink heavily every night. He is completely isolated. He is misanthropic. And ultimately, I think he is well aware that if he succeeds in what he's trying to do, which is to create the singularity, to create the next evolution in being, in conscious being, it will most likely not only be the end of him, but be the end of humanity.
Of course it would. Why wouldn't it be the end of humanity, right?
Yeah, I mean, Alex, it's interesting because Alex Garland, the incredible writer and director who did this movie, he is more optimistic. He's very pessimistic when it comes to humans. But when it comes, and I would say to a certain extent the movie, if you're going to, I guess think that that's like a subjective thing, that the movie sides with Ava, the robot. That she is being mistreated, or it is being mistreated.
Right.
It is a consciousness and it's self-aware, and because of that, it actually deserves inalienable rights.
Sure.
I happen to think that, and I agree to that to a certain extent, but I also feel like everything we've made at a certain point goes beyond our control.
Sure.
Whether it be industry or socioeconomic systems or political systems, you know, we create these things or machines or whatever, and then we kind of enslave ourselves to them. So why would it be any different with AI?
I don't think it's interesting that you say that, because my sympathies fall with Caleb entirely in this film at the end of the day. But so I do want to talk about, you mentioned the drinking, and I was curious if you felt like, I mean, this guy comes off as such a total heel, but I thought, well, maybe he's not entirely without conscience. Maybe he feels his brilliance makes him feel so isolated, but he does have a level of guilt that drives him to drink.
Well, for me, it was less maybe a thing of guilt. I actually have a good friend of mine who's an astrophysicist. He's brilliant. And also,
as we all do.
Yeah, you know, our astrophysicist friend. And mine happens to also drink heavily. Often, and I think it's actually a process of quieting the brain a little bit. You know, when your brain is moving so fast and constantly, he also interrupts people's sentences because he gets bored with what you're saying because he already knows where you're going.
Yeah.
And to quiet it down, you know, I think that's something that I could understand and kind of relate to. So I think that's probably at the core of the drinking. Again, also, I think there's an element that's part of the performance for Caleb's sake, to show that he's someone that's a little out of control.
And vulnerable.
And vulnerable, yeah, exactly.
I know that the dance scene has been talked about kind of endlessly. There's a dance scene in this, if you haven't seen it, it's the most amazing dance scene I've ever seen in a movie, I think. And it's because it captures that unique tone. It's like, it's uncanny and funny and horrific and weird all at once.
That's how my dancing usually is, really. It's kind of...
That's how you like to party?
Yeah. Those are all adjectives for me on the dance floor.
You're a snazzy dancer. Like, those are some good moves.
Thank you. Weeks of rehearsal. And,
Was it weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you know, because we have to be, you know, it isn't just like boogieing on the dance floor. It's like this weird, incredibly choreographed thing.
It's like so Lynchian.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is. And it's also, you know, it's this disco non sequitur.
Yeah.
You know? And that's, again, credit to Alex, who just understands rhythm in such a good way and understands that at this point of the movie, the audience kind of needs a little slap in the face, just like Caleb does. You know, things are coming out of nowhere, and you're you know, it's hard to figure out where you are. So, but again, it's also a great place to show character. Like, this is what he does by himself. So it's sad too, you know.
It's really sad, but he's also like robbed her of her autonomy, which is horrible to make a puppet out of anything.
Yeah, sure.
Unless it's a puppet, I guess.
Unless it is a puppet. Well, which is the question, you know, at what point, you know, and that character, the character of Kyoko, there is a sense of the ghost in the machine thing right there, you know, which is like, even if you take away, I guess without giving stuff away, but, you know, like what happens when if you have consciousness or self-awareness at one point and then it gets taken away, what's left over? Yeah.
Very exciting year for sci-fi. Ex Machina is such good sci-fi. I mean it. I truly love it. Like, it's so smart. You're kind of a sci-fi fan, yeah?
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, very much so.
You guys need to check it out if you haven't. It's in theaters now. It expands on Friday, April 24th, which means you have no excuse.
No excuses. No excuses
at all. Listen, Apocalypse is telling you.
Go get your minds blown.
And go see Ex Machina. Do it, do it, do it. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me over here.